So I hit Cap up. This is day 2. I hit Cap up about the whole Aisha and for Harriet thing, and we got to talking about alpha females, and watched a couple videos on alpha females. Right? Cap sent me a bunch of videos, and in the conversation we had the other night, you know what came up? It kind of hit both of us why Aisha and for Harriet, why they went into the majors that they went into, aside from all that stuff about following your passion and not really thinking about, how you're going to go out here and make a living and make money. But especially with Aisha, Eastern languages and civilization. I don't even know what the fuck that is. But I'm saying that African American studies, it's like, nah, these chicks were looking for answers to justify them being in charge. That's what, and I've noticed that, we've noticed that, women coming through with ancient African theory, or how, other communities did this, or X, Y, and Z, right? And I've seen Aisha do that. She'll sit there and talk about how other groups, did things. And it's not like, there's these other groups that are just completely matriarchal and women rule and shit like that. Like, it'll be like a responsibility here is flipped, or a responsibility there is flipped. Like example in China, right? Like I could go in the opposite direction and be like, well, in Chinese culture, right, when the father and mother divorce, the father gets custody of the children. That's how it goes down in China. Especially they get custody of the boys, right? But in America, the women get custody, right? Because America has these safety nets for women, because of the whole idea that women don't work and that men earn all the money. And, that's a nice 1950s model, but that's not, the actual way that it is today. You have many women who are working, but yet we still operate, as though men earn, all of the money, and women, are just wholly dependent on the men. And that's how, these child custody and divorce laws go, which is why you have organizations like, men's right activism and MRAs, and why you have MGTOWs, and, men who don't want to get married, men who see the writing on the wall, men who see the unfairness of the system, even though equality is being rammed down our throats. Men can objectively look at the situation on the ground and say, this is not fair, this is not fair, this is not fair, this is not fair. Like, goddamn, if we're going to go with equality, then motherfucking make it equal. But it's not equal. And then you have all that background noise of shaming. Like example, like let's say a woman is making, I've seen this situation. I know a white woman, she had to pay her husband $1 million in alimony. She had a company that she started when she was 27. The company blew up and they had a divorce. I remember I was sitting in her kitchen and she said to me that, she was on the phone, and then her husband, I don't know, he slammed some shit down and was like, do you ever stop? Because she's just constantly on the phone. And I know how annoying that can be. You're trying to have a marriage and conduct a relationship, and the other person's promising that they're going to make time for you, and they never have any time for you. Or they're constantly, hold on. You're like in the middle of a conversation. Oh, hold on one second. So-and-so's on the phone. Oh, hold on one second. And they got to get on the phone every 5 seconds. It's like the phone is just constantly interrupting, your relationship and your life. So anyway, the white guy, her husband, he got mad. He was like, do you ever stop? Because she was telling me the story about, their divorce. And she told me how she had to pay him out $1 million and whatnot. And, when I just thinking about that, there are many, many cases out here where situations like that go down, and out of pride, the man doesn't take the woman's money. Okay, but you won't hear women say no shit like, I didn't take his money because of pride. Like, no, the vast majority of women are going to come with some, I deserve this, I'm owed this. This is why you had men making, songs like Drake's, you wasn't, with the whole situation when Kobe first got divorced from his wife, you wasn't shooting with me in the gym. This is what transpires. This sort of this dual operation between being halfway between, traditional 1950s patriarchy, which again is predicated on men making more money, across the board, and this, third, fourth wave feminism, and women are out here and we don't need men and we making our own money and this, that, and the third. This is why a lot of, yes, the colorism complaints, the black men not wanting black women complaints and all that other shit, it's a fraction of, the problem as it pertains to, a lot of these interpersonal relationships. And I'm saying, the Pied Piper, in these conversations are these alpha females. And see, YouTube just makes the situation worse. Because you already got an alpha female. Women come on, and like I said, they really don't like, the whole traditional setup of relationships. They come online, they look at the black community, they don't exactly have all of the details, as even I didn't have all the details when I came online. They come online and, they start, preaching and talking about, women and what women have to do and what they need to do and all this other stuff, right? And they start making money off of YouTube and the conversation, okay? Once these women are making a living that they can actually sustain themselves on off of YouTube or their brand or whatever they're freaking doing, they're done. They're done. On top of the fact that their whole mindset was, that of an alpha female and that of, I don't like this whole traditional setup, even if the dude is on. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no swirl for freaking women like who think like Aisha. Swirl is not going to solve that. An end of colorism is not going to solve that. You see, 50 Cent could shut up and not say what he says tomorrow, and all black men, put black women first. That's still not going to solve the fact that the woman wants to run shit. You see what I'm saying? If their goal is to be in charge and run shit and not have to answer to anybody, just like men realize, once you have the financial resources and wherewithal, and to have fuck you money and do whatever the hell you want, can't nobody tell you shit. Can't nobody tell you shit. But see, the problem with women being in that position is women are not socialized to share. Women are not socialized to provide and protect. That's not how they're socially oriented. Okay, these women are trying to live their own lifestyle, do their own thing. They're the equivalent of selfish men. That's what they are the equivalent of. Men, on the other hand, you're supposed to build, you're supposed to maintain, you're supposed to take care of, provide, make sure your daughter has the right clothes, make sure your son has the right clothes, and make sure your daughter has the right makeup, and make sure she's in a safe environment, in a safe space, and all that other stuff. Like, you got to do, this is all the stuff that you have to do. These are all the roles that you have to play, But with women, if women play those roles, it immediately goes and the conversation shifts over to some weak man somewhere not doing anything. Not the fact that she's the alpha female and wants to be the alpha female. No, there's some defunct man somewhere, I'm saying, if she has kids, that is the reason why she is fulfilling, this role. It's her money. She should be able to do with her money what she will. And again, as we've talked about before, this is, the idea that, what's hers is hers, and what's, his is hers. And honestly, even I can't shake that idea. You know what I mean? Like at the back of my mind, I'm like, man, if I'm tapping into her money, man, that puts me in the bitch position. Nah, fuck that. I got this covered. You know, it's like you're socialized as a man to think like that. Unless, of course, you grow up in a matriarchy and women are pushing 50-50 down your throat. Or, you know, what's the other thing aside from growing up in a matriarchy? You have, you know, a mother or father that's teaching you responsibility, but not leadership. So you're just like a beta in the situation. But again, most of the time, fathers are not there. And I highly doubt a father is going to, you know, actively teach that shit. You know, because a lot of times, if the fathers are in a position, they're ashamed about their own position. They can't not be. That's how society is structured. That's what is constantly said. You know, and what I noticed about for Harriet constantly tries to get, black men to toss out the leadership, but maintain and preserve and keep all the responsibility. And it's not just for Harriet. It's pretty much all of the black women that are online that make these sort of talking points. Keep the responsibility, get rid of the leadership. Keep the responsibility, but get rid of the leadership. You see? Responsibilities for men and duties towards women, that's equality. But the leadership is misogyno war and evil patriarchy. I'm like, amazing. Like, those two things are interlaced. They're interconnected. But, I mean, it's an exchange. There's nothing fun about responsibilities. Responsibilities aren't fun. You want to lead, you got to take on the responsibility. That's the exchange. But, you know, the rhetoric that I hear now is just entirely confused everything, you know, in terms of what people think. I mean, if they don't have, you know, a real solid mentor that gives them a real solid grasp of how shit's supposed to go down, oh man, I mean, we have a community that is largely, led by women by default because of, you know, either choosing the wrong man or, fathers not being in the home. I mean, if I was out here with a black woman and I married a black woman, and this is one of the things that factors into, you know, choosing a black woman that I hate, because it shouldn't even be a factor, but it is. You know, it's like, if you're going to live in a black community, you know what I mean? Well, again, I want to live in a patriarchal community. I want to live in a community where you know, there's a problem, you know what I mean? And all the men, you know, in the neighborhood meet at Bob's house and we try to sort out how the fuck are we going to deal with this situation. You know what I mean? I don't want to live in a community where, you know, 75 to 80% of the households on the block ain't nothing but single mothers and shit, women on welfare, and, you know, women who work 2-3 jobs, and, you know, they got sons that they can't control and whatnot, and then they're looking to me to just teach the boy responsibility, but most certainly not leadership, because, you know, that's sexist. You know, and then they'll complain and they'll have their stupid ideas of confusion about, you know, this sort of interchangeability between, you know, well, you men should be doing this and these boys should be doing that. But then they try to keep the boys in a childlike state, because when they're in a childlike state, in the childlike mindset, they can be controlled. But when they take on that leadership role in conjunction with the responsibilities, you know, then they can't be controlled. Then they start smelling themselves. Then they start having a greater sense of what it is to be a man. And that comes with a whole bunch of other shit that the women don't particularly fucking care for. So the very thing that you would set up to have women and children protected and men leading and all that other stuff, you know, the women, they don't like everything that comes with that sandwich. You know what I mean? They're like, well, take out the onions. I'm like, yo, the onions come with it. That's how it comes. You know what I'm saying? It's like a combo at your favorite fast food place. It's a combo. That's what comes with it. But manhood is not a combo to these women. Manhood is patriarchy a la carte. I'll have some of this and I'll have some of that. You can keep that over there. I'll take a little bit of this. I don't like that right there. You can keep that one too. You know, that's what they think patriarchy is. You know, and honestly, man, I mean, look, the women that are talking this stupid shit, they got big audiences. It's more than one, you know, and I mean, the black community is broken enough to the point that, I mean, you just can't come in a man and just have, you know, a counter statement and just be done with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, these women are still, these young girls and whatnot, they're still in shit. You know what I mean? They still are coming out of fatherless homes. They still, you know, they're still running around looking, you know, for guidance. And they're going to trust women more than they're going to trust men. You know, and unfortunately, you know, I mean, the reality is, you know, any particular individual black woman out here, you know, as black men are trying to find their way through life, you know, is not, you know, their responsibility. Like, that's the responsibility of the man that birthed them. That's the way it's supposed to be. You know, other men that, you know, haven't done anything against, you know, these women, you know, it should not be their responsibility to have to save, you know, the children of other men, both male and female. It's like, goddamn, motherfucker, you brought him here. Handle your shit. I got shit to handle over here. What you think? I got like 8 arms and shit? What do you think? I'm Shiva? What do you think? I'm Kali? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, handle your shit. You know, and so you get situations where, you know, yeah, you know, a man can help here and there, but he can't be there 24/7. He got his own responsibilities to fucking deal with and handle. He cannot be there 24/7 to handle, you know, all of the brokenness that is in the black community. And so what you end up with is a lot of people going without. And so, again, the women come through with their, you know, mental soothing.
The speed limit is 30 miles per hour.
You know, they come in with their soothing of you know, their rhetoric and their ideas. But again, a lot of these chicks are super alpha females that, you know, they had no intentions of being in a traditional relationship or marriage or anything like that anyway. You know, I mean, I've listened to enough of Aisha's videos and her stuff. I'm like, man, this is dark magic over here. This ain't even normal. Like, this is some dark magic. I'm at a loss for words. This ain't got a fucking thing to do with, you know, black men failed and that's why we're on this shit, or black men said disparaging things and that's why we're on this shit. It ain't got a damn thing to do with that shit. This is some just extreme, you know, alpha female looking for justifications to be in charge, you know, and run shit. You know, and unfortunately, because the black community is broken and because black men collectively, you know, have failed, there's not enough to offset that. You know what I mean? Like, if a woman was talking like Aisha in the 1950s, you know, other women would have checked Aisha. Other women would have like, fuck are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And they would have all went back to their husbands and went back to their man and everything else like that. But because the community is broken, you know, the women will entertain this sort of shit. You know, which will only leave them further down the path of fucking misery, because women like Aisha, women like for Harriet, many of these other women, the female sex, you could throw her in there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying the female sex, she went through some shit. You know, she went through some serious shit. So I'm not going to talk no shit. You know, she had some foul shit done to her. But I'm just saying, you take these women, and what was I going to say? You take these women, and I mean, you know, they want to be in charge. That's what they want. Other women the majority of other women want to be in relationships. They want to be married. They want all that, but, they just, it's at the point where it's like, okay, well, it's all black men's fault, evil black men. And then they just, run off that. And then they think that going off and being this alpha female type of shit is a solution. And it's like, but you actually want to be in a relationship, and you're following women who that is not their goal. Their goal is power. Your goal is a man, and you think that you can somehow replace the satisfaction you get with being in a relationship and being with a man with power. I'm telling, only a certain number of women who are in the minority are built for that shit. But we now have women that are being indoctrinated and told that will satisfy them, and it won't. I guarantee you that it won't. And so, this is where we are. And sooner or later, these women are going to find that shit out. All this, you see this now. There's enough videos on YouTube that talk about these women that went out there and career this and career that. And then next thing you know, they're 39 years old and, they're looking for a man, and, they're out there, and, most men are avoiding them, especially if they have too much money or too much power or whatever, because they recognize that that's going to put them automatically in the bitch position. You know what I'm saying? If these are men that avoided or didn't get their money right. And then on the flip side, if you have women who, men who, did focus on, getting their shit together and do have money and resources and power, the problem then becomes that, these women are probably going to challenge them. That's how they look at it, because they can't tell the difference between, a chick who thought that she could replace, not having a man with power with the women that actually pursue power. So he sees them as one and the same. He's like, oh shit, I see what the fuck you got going. Oh, this chick is a chick that wants to run shit. She might not be. She just, and don't get me wrong, it's always better to have money than not have money. It's like what I say about working out. It's always better to be physically fit than not be physically fit. That way, when you come across somebody, like or you have better chances of coming across somebody who's going to find you attractive, which opens the door for you having better chances of finding love in a relationship and everything else, because the other people are attracted to you. Attractive people have more opportunities to find love than unattractive people. That's just the facts. So, it's better for a woman to have have money and not be in the poorhouse than be in the poorhouse. I'd rather see a black woman, living comfortably than being a single mother in the ghetto. But I'm saying, men recognize that dynamic of power and when it comes to money and resources when dealing with other men. So don't think that they're not going to recognize it when it comes to dealing with a woman. And black women have an extremely bad reputation of, trying to be controllers and matriarchs and all that other stuff. And black men, even those black men that got resources, are not looking for that shit. They are not looking, to be controlled by women. This is why you have women like for Harriet who come through and they want to dismantle, the patriarchy and all that other stuff, so they can eliminate the shaming, and that so that black men will accept the programming, so that they will accept this new paradigm that these women are trying to present that has not been tested. It's like, oh, well, if we just eliminate this or get rid of this, then everything will just fall into place, and then everything will be good. See, the problem is that there's these standards and these norms and these cultural norms that come from white supremacists, capitalists, evil, patriarchy, and we must eliminate those. And then once we eliminate those, then everything will be, fine. And it's like somebody going into a building and knocking down the load-bearing beam. You know what I mean? They're like, yes, this beam is our problem. I'm like, you're completely ignoring what that beam actually supports. If you knock that down, you're going to have a problem. There's going to be other unforeseen problems that you're going to have if you knock down that beam. They don't give a fuck. They're like, no, this beam is a problem, knock it down, and then the whole building collapses. And see, they're not at the whole building collapses point. They're not processing and thinking that the building is going to collapse. I'm like, this building is going to fucking collapse. I'm like the little spark of fucking manhood that men are holding on to. I'm like, all that has to be done is, an injection of resources and then some tweaking, again, like the conversations that myself and, and Captain Solo and myself have been having. That's all that has to happen. We need the resources and we need, to give these boys the proper orientation in conjunction with one another. It doesn't serve any purpose to give them the proper orientation and they don't have the tools necessary to go out there and execute, what they need to execute as men. You see? And it doesn't serve any purpose for them to have, the resources, and then not, and then have, the wrong orientation. Which is what you see when you see these rappers and basketball players and everything. They don't have the orientation, but they got all the money in the world. But if you look at them, they go out there and they don't do like the right thing or, towards the community or even working with each other. Like they're just a bunch of individual black men on their individual rich, wealthy archipelagos, who are separate from one another and just, basically, hey, we're just a bunch of rich niggas. Now let's go out here and see how many bitches we can fuck. And then that's like all they do. They're not trying to control anything. They're not trying to build anything. They're not trying to be the spear tip and leaders of the collective, of the community. They're not trying to be the ones that people, aspire to. Remember, I'm not a role model. I'm not a role model. That bullshit, you see? The money for them is just for them to go out there and have fun and fuck more bitches, and that's all there is to it. So here, that's an example of men having money but not having the proper orientation. They need to have both. So when for Harriet and other women come through and they want to tear down, the load-bearing beam, I'm like, yo, this whole motherfucker is going to collapse. I'm like, you don't fucking put out that last spark. I'm like, damn, the community is already matriarchal, and then you go and see that stupid thing is that they think that somehow they're going to knock out the load-bearing beam and the structure is still going to have the integrity to still stand. And that somehow, okay, they got rid of all of the shit that they don't want, which is connected to the load-bearing beams. They think that they got all the things that they don't want, and that somehow all of the goodness and shit that they do want is somehow a part of this structure and magically still holds up the whole thing. So they eliminated everything they don't want, and they got everything that they do want, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I mean, that's just the facts, of the situation. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say. That's my video for now. That's my video on this whole topic. SWP out.